Hello, Big Goal Energy. Bri Seeley here, hostess of the podcast that you currently have in your ears. If you are a regular listener and or subscriber to my newsletter or any of the things, you've seen a lot of content coming out from me this year talking about how I am essentially burning down my business again. Now, it's not fully being burned down. I don't want to get into semantics about where it's going or what's happening because that's not the point of this. The point of this episode is, as I've been in the process of things not working in my business and questioning what's next and doing the identity work within myself, I've been speaking to women, colleagues, friends of friends, just people that I just know and have in my life. And it seems like almost every single woman I'm talking to is going through a similar thing. So I began to ask myself, is this really, is this a me thing or is this a universal thing? And what if it's not a me thing? Like, how can I bring together other voices of women who are experiencing similar things to help put in your ears that you're not alone and give you tools and resources and things that you need to help you be better through this process of death and rebirth, reconstruction, all of the things. So I called up 3 women that I know and deeply love and respect and said, hey, would you be willing to talk about how you've burnt it all down this year, how you've been recalibrating, how you've been connecting in with what's next for you and having the grace to let go of what you know no longer serves you. So this is that conversation. We just had a beautiful hour-long discussion around all of these things. How do you know when it's time for a recalibration, a pivot, a chapter ending, a new one beginning? What tools do you lean on in these times to help yourself not go crazy and not keep pushing? How do you take the next steps? What does that look like? So the episode you're about to listen to is truly near and dear to my heart because this has been my 2020. So more than anything, I just want you to listen to this episode and know that if this is your experience this year as well, you're not alone. So many of us are going through it. In fact, I share a hypothesis in this episode about what I think is going on and why I think this is happening right now. So listen up, get a journal out, grab a pen, take some notes. And as always, if you have any ahas that you want to digest or jam over, shoot me a message on Instagram. Would love to hear from you. Would love to talk about it and just witness you going through the process, because the more that we can know that we're not alone, the easier the process is going to get. Enjoy the episode.
You were never meant for a small life. You have bold ideas, audacious dreams, and visions that keep you up at night. But the truth is, big goals don't come with step-by-step instructions, and success doesn't come from doing more. It comes from becoming more. Welcome to Big Goal Energy, a podcast for high-achieving women who are done shrinking, striving, and second-guessing, and are ready to defy reality in pursuit of the life they actually want. I'm your hostess, Bri Seeley, goal architect, subconscious strategist, and your permission slip to want what you want. Join me as we go beyond the surface level success to explore the mindset, identity, and inner work required to bring your biggest, most delulu goals to life. This is your space to be seen, to be expanded, and to remember that you are not alone on this journey. Let's get into it.
Hello, listeners. Welcome back to Big Goal Energy. I am so honored and thrilled to be joined by 3 super incredible women today. I have had individual conversations with each of these women about where they're at this year, what they've been experiencing, where I'm at this year, what I've been experiencing. And so I thought, why not get us all on a conversation together and talk about, like, what does the reinvention process truly look like? What does it include? What are we bumping up against? All the things. All these women are super brilliant and super transparent and honest, and I'm just really excited to have this conversation. So, Miss Annie P. Ruggles, would you kick us off with a quick introduction and a state of the business status update on what's happening in your world?
You betcha. Hey, y'all, I'm Annie P. Ruggles. I will do my normal intro, and then I will tell you why that normal intro isn't quite right anymore. But I am a fractional CMO and sales trainer and marketing realigner for very small businesses. I'm talking solopreneurs and small teams. And I love that. I've been doing that since 2011. So it's been almost all of my adult life. And I have spent most of that time at capacity, which I'm grateful for, but it has taken a big toll on my health. And also, I am routinely one of the first things people cut when the purse strings get tightened because consulting is not cheap. And so, totally understandably, budget cuts affect me in a super big way. 25 has been a very, very tight year. And I had two options. I can either keep chasing fractional CMO clients that keep me super busy and keep the bills paid, but that's about it. Or I can just sort of embrace being broke and see what I can do to slim down the consultancy and do what I truly love, which is interview people. And so I'm launching a whole bunch of new shows and I'm interviewing a whole bunch of new people. And I am currently in that super exciting place between living the damn thing and monetizing the damn thing. And I'm trying not to freak out too much about monetizing the damn thing, which is strange because I've been a professional strategist where all roads led to money for forever. And so now it's kind of interesting to be like, wait, I can just create for creation's sake. So that's me.
Love it. Thank you.
Awesome.
Sarah, will you go next?
Sure. Hi, I'm Sarah Kahn. I'm a TEDx speaker. I'm an author. And like Annie, I'm a consultant. I've been an operations consultant for the better part of 15 years. I started my own business back in 2010, part-time, went full-time in 2020. I have been working pretty much the entire time full-time as well. When I left my job in 2020 and went full-time in my own business, I had already been doing operations for a long time. It was what I did in my career, so it felt like a natural evolution into. But what I've come to learn over the last few years, similar struggles is consulting is usually the first thing that gets cut. Director of operations, your operations people are always cut because they're not sexy. They don't bring in the money. They just keep it in the business. So there have been a lot of the similar challenges. And what I have realized over the last year, particularly since I did my TEDx talk, is what I had built my business on was not what I actually wanted to do. And so it has been a 2-year journey now, which was really catalyzed in January of this year, into reminding myself, well, who the hell are you? And what do you actually want to do? What actually brings you joy? I ended up going back to work this year. I am currently a chief of staff at a medical clinic here. And it has given me the bandwidth, the mental bandwidth to decide what I want to do. So that has included burning down my podcast, letting go of the business as the business has been structured for 15 years, and really thinking about, I'm going to be 50 at the end of this year. What do I want this final third of my life to look like? Do I want to continue being in service to everybody else's ambition, or is it time to focus on my own?
Beautiful. Thank you. And Denise.
Hello, I'm Denise
Hi.
Lee, and I'm also a founder and entrepreneur. Prior to starting my own business, I worked for a billionaire who is launching all these new brands and taught me a lot and is still a great mentor of mine. And then eventually 12 years ago, I started Alala, which is an athleisure brand that I've been running for the last 12 years. And it's been a wild journey. We've been self-funded this entire time. So it's been a very exciting kind of up and down journey as the athleisure industry grew, we grew, and, as it's gone through its ups and downs, we have as well. And I think I'm at a point where, after 12 years, it feels like I'm just craving something new. I'm craving something more meaningful for myself versus just making new clothes and getting people to buy new clothes and making more new clothes and getting people to buy those. So it's like, I feel like there's a part of me that really butts up against that over consumerism that we all experience right now. So I'm trying to decide what to do, where my skill set can apply to next that doesn't involve more consumerism. I think I'm in that phase right now where I'm just trying to figure that out.
Beautiful. Thank you. And for those of you that don't yet know me, I'm Bri Seeley. I have been an entrepreneur for 18 years, formerly ran a fashion business, which the universe and my soul guided me to shut down overnight in 2015. Stepped into empowerment coaching, business coaching, manifestation coaching for women, which I've done for the last 10 years. And my business came to a complete, total fucking screeching halt this year of no fault of my own. Last year was my biggest year in business. I had 2 six-figure launches plus multiple other things in between. And everything that worked in 2024 just stopped working in 2025. And I'll get into what I think that is and why I think that happened in the next question, because Sarah talked about what I built was not really actually what I wanted to do. And Denise has talked about, her values kind of colliding with the business she has. And I really want to talk about what was that first sign, because personally, I've been getting signs for 2.5 years that it's time. The shift is coming. And I feel like I drug my feet a little bit because things were working, doing 2 six-figure launches. Well, why wouldn't I do 3 or 4 this year and just keep the ball rolling? I have known that this was coming for 2 years and I did nothing about it. What was that first sign? What were those whispers? How long have you known that this was coming for it to have shown up now this year? And what was the thing that also finally made you listen? For me, I didn't have a choice. Literally all of my income this year has just gone.
I'll go. 2 years ago was the big sort of implosion in the business. I lost a client that I had been working with for 4 years. Was also a very good friend. We'd become obviously friends after 4 years. Who doesn't? And it was a lot of things colliding at once. It was the loss of this client for very personal reasons, knowing I had built a brand around business blasphemy, around integrity, around all of these things, to learn that somebody that I had trusted for a long time was actually doing all of the things that I stood against. And so having to pull myself out of that, being gaslit by a couple of the coaches that I had invested with at that time, and basically living and realizing I was living in the very paradigms I was trying to break and that I had built this brand around. And then we moved house in November of last year to a different province. And in January, when I finally did my TED Talk, which by the way, came as a result of me finally being like, I don't give a shit. I'm just going to talk about whatever I want to talk about. And, I had pitched TED 5 times, rejected every time. But this time I was in my pajamas. I'm like, I don't care. And it got accepted. And it was a full year of not making any money, of putting something out there and then being like, but I really don't want to sell this and deliver this, like over and over again. And asking myself, what are you doing? Like you're running a business. You cannot do this. It was like dragging myself through it every day because you have to make the money. This is how you're supposed to run a business. This is what you're supposed to do. And when I gave my talk, all of these young women came up and were like, thank you for saying the thing that we have never been allowed to say or known how to express. And I left that experience and I cried for 3 days. That's not an exaggeration. Like I woke up every day and I was a bucket of tears for 3 days. And that was the realization that what I had built and what I had been trying to hold on to, despite all of these feelings of misalignment and just how heavy everything was feeling, and seeing that heaviness reflected in my content and my followers reflecting back to me like, girl, you okay? You're really dark. What's going on? And me being like, no, but this is just me being Sarah. This is me being direct and my no nonsense. And it was like, no, actually what's happening is you are burning out. You're falling apart. And so this whole year has been this journey of like, okay, you get to take the time to fix this because you are literally working yourself into the hospital. Trying to hold on to and keep hold of these things that every single signal and sign is telling you is not who you are anymore. And I think the biggest lesson has been that sometimes you have to allow yourself the permission to let go of the things that don't feel like they're working anymore, even if they are on paper.
That's so good. Yeah, that falling apart. I was just on a coaching session for myself yesterday, and I was talking about how the Tower is one of my favorite tarot cards because it truly is all of those things that are misaligned. Those things have to crumble. And it is a terrifying process for myself. Everything that worked last year, do I keep pushing for it? Do I keep fighting for it? Do I keep trying when the evidence I'm getting back is, girl, this isn't it?
Yeah.
So thank you.
I do this every couple years. This one hits different, but every couple years, the passage of time because I've rebranded. Right? Or I've changed up my offer suite. On one hand, it felt like it was time because it's time. But on the other hand, in the most millennial only child answer I could possibly give is that I just didn't feel shiny anymore. And what I did feel was exhausted. I'm a person who is obsessed with value. And when I start to question if I'm actually helping a client, or if I start to question why I'm in the room, or if I start to feel like I'm surrounding myself with people who want to pay me to ignore me and not do what I say and then blame me for that, which almost never happens because, like Sarah, I tend to be extremely good friends with the people that I work with because of the intimate nature of our lives, that it's just like, whoa, hold on. Where did I get these people that think that they can treat me like this? Right? Very diva. But I think the main moment that really changed things for me, and the reason why this one felt really different, is number one, the sheer level of panic and fear that my clients and peers and friends are experiencing in this very new feel. Like, that's new. Normally, I rebrand because, I'm on my period and I need some excitement in my life and I decide to burn my website down and build it overnight. But normally that's just me being me. But right now, like, everyone I talk to is like, why isn't this working? Why isn't this working? Why isn't this working? The other thing is, for the longest time, I have a musical theater degree. And for my entire 30s, I'm now 41. For my entire 30s, I told myself that I did not have time to perform because I was building a business. So I didn't. For whatever reason, a couple of months ago, my friends convinced me to go audition for a musical, and I did. And the whole first week, I was like, my business is going to die. I can't take from 7 to 10 p.m. and a Sunday to myself. I can't do that. My business will die. My business will die. And I went through this very intensive rehearsal process that took a ton of my time and energy. And two things happened. Number one, I felt shiny again. And number two, my business didn't get affected at all. That's when I realized that I'm a workaholic and I've created this trap for myself. And I'm grateful for what I have, and it's killing me. So it's time to note how I've kept myself in this box and note that the only person that can burn that box to the ground is me. And so that's what I did. But it was really just based on, I thought I had to feel shiny to my clients again or shiny to prospects again. And it really was shock of all shocks here as an entrepreneur and a solopreneur. I had to feel shiny to me again. And I couldn't do that in the work climate that I had created for myself.
Thank you.
I love that you recognize that it's like a prison of your own choosing. And
Mhm.
that's like the revelation, I think, at the end of the day. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, I have my clients, I have this, I have that. But it's like, no, I built this box myself, and now I'm the only one that can break it down. And I don't have anybody to blame. When you work corporate, sometimes you blame your boss, you blame this, you blame that. But as entrepreneurs, we have that freedom to build, but we also have that freedom to say, okay, I've changed my mind. I don't want to do it anymore and start over. Yeah.
Love that. Did you have any signs?
Yeah. There were little things like as early as 2018, 2019, like even before COVID. We had a team of 15 people in New York City. Our rent was like $30,000 a month or something crazy like that. And it was like, even then you're like, why am I paying for office space? Why are we paying so much? When we were in clothing fittings, why are all these people caring about a quarter of an inch difference and, like adjusting things? And I had those moments where I'm like, I don't know, like this seems a little silly to me. But then when COVID hit, we had 2 years of amazing sales, amazing growth and all that stuff. So it was hard to give up until after COVID, when activewear took a little bit of a dip and people were going back to wearing real clothes, that I started to really think, is this what I want to do? But even then, in 2022, it's taken 2.5 years to even get to a place where I'm comfortable telling everyone who's worked for me for the last 7-8 years that I don't want to do it anymore. That takes a lot of going through it yourself, questioning yourself before you're comfortable saying those things out loud. And so it was probably a year and a half ago. I was in China and I was at a trade fair where you could buy any product under the sun. And I'm like, out of all these products that are here, you could be selling something that really helps people in their lives, right? You could be selling something that improves people's lives. That was the point where I was like, I can't sell clothes anymore. They're just, who cares? Who cares? I certainly don't care as much as I used to. That was a big one for me where I was just like, oh, maybe I could apply my skills to selling something that would really change people's lives, improve them, versus just selling them stuff for the sake of buying a new sports bra.
Thank you. I have this theory. Now, it's just a hypothesis at this point. I haven't done I've done a little bit of data collection, but, haven't really fully come to a conclusion of this scientific, right? Almost every woman I've talked to this year is going through something really similar. Sarah's nodding. I know Annie was talking about her clients. I just wonder, I know that this feels deeply personal to each and every one of us, but I just can't help but wonder if there's something bigger going on. Will we ever know? I don't know. But also, I feel like people are kind of at the point where they're sick of compromising their values in the world. Kind of like Denise was saying, questioning things and being like, is this really worth it? Is this really what I want to be doing? Is this really the legacy I want to be leaving behind? And maybe it's because I'm surrounded by like perimenopause and menopausal women. I don't know. Maybe that's just what you go through in this stage. My mom told me nothing about this stage of life. But also, I feel like even with the new generations coming up, that they're just not willing to play by the fucking rules that all of us have played by, which, by the way, who made the rules and why are they rules? I don't know. That's a whole conversation for a different podcast episode. But tell me, is my theory, am I crazy? Does it feel spot on? I just feel like there's something bigger going on in the world that we're all experiencing, but I don't know if it's necessarily as personal as I've been making it.
I was going to say, I'm not like 100% woo. I'm more like woo adjacent. I dabble in woo, but I'm not like woo woo. But I do believe in energy, and I do believe in our connection to the grid. And I think you're onto something. I do think that there is a fundamental shift happening at a level that we cannot comprehend, because I'm a history nerd, but like, why are there pyramids in Egypt and also in Mexico? Like, it's one of those things. It's like, why am I feeling like this here? And people I know over in Australia are feeling the exact same. Like, why is it? It's collective. It's definitely global. So I think there is something going on. It's almost like the collective consciousness is elevating itself in some sort of weird way. And adding to that, all of the turmoil that's happening globally, politically, socially, economically, it's almost like a shedding that is happening. And we used to have a snake when I was younger, when I was in the universities. Even though a snake sheds its skin very naturally on a regular basis, it's not the most comfortable process for the snake. I kind of feel like that's what's happening to us collectively. It's a shedding, and it's uncomfortable, and we got to rub ourselves up, on a couple of rocks to get rid of some of those sticky bits. But when we come out, I do feel like if we can come out together, we're going to feel like Annie was talking about, shiny and new and fresh. It's just a matter of like holding on for dear life right now. That's what it feels like.
Much more conversation just around purpose and joy in social media and just in my friend groups. These are things that we never talked about in our 20s and early 30s. And then now there's a bigger conversation, I think, happening that people are starting to ask those questions of why, for what. And I think that's a great thing that's happening.
I think our tolerations are changing, right? Because each of us have a limited bank of fucks, which is more than just a phrase. You can look at the science of willpower and see that we only have so much before the brain has to reset and blah, blah, blah. And I feel like the world that we are living in right now, woo or not woo, is taking up a whole lot of space in each of us. I'm not used to waking up again wondering if today is going to be the day that they strike down marriage equality. Like, I'm not used to having to give up my fucks for that. I'm not used to having to give up my fucks for my neighbors getting ice rated. Like, there's stuff going on. But because of that, I feel like my personal tolerations have big time changed, and I'm becoming irritated and frustrated by things like over consumerism. Whereas before I'd be like, why are these women buying $90 cups at Target? That's weird. But now I'm looking at my own behaviors and going, why do I have 7 sports bra, only have 2 boobs, right? Like, what am I supposed to do here? And I feel like similarly, like what Sarah was talking about, she had this client relationship where it turned out that there was this huge fissure of ethics between her and this person that she trusted. Maybe in a different time, that could have persisted for longer. But when Sarah's limited bank and my limited bank are confronted with things like a gap in ethics, when both Sarah and I have built our brand on being ethical, integrity, transparent, all of the things, we can't ignore that anymore because we're out of pleasantries. We're out of niceness. We're out of not taking up as much space. Why are we tolerating these things? Why are we saying, oh, that's totally fine? Why are we being, and I'm in Chicago if you can't tell by the accent, but like, why are we being so Midwestern about everything when we're literally being tread on? Like, why? And we're not anymore.
I also wonder too if some of it, and TikTok is my guilty pleasure. It's where I use to check out and just like decompress from all the things. I wonder if some of it is if generations before us just literally didn't know that they had any other options. Now you can hop on TikTok and people will be like, my boyfriend said this to me today. Is that normal? And all these people jump in and they're like, what the fuck, girl? No. I also feel like we're starting to see that there's so many more options out there for all of us that we don't have to feel like shit every day, that we can choose to rebuild into a new purpose. Now, is that an easy process? No, it's fucking not, which is why I love what Sarah brought up. And I want to go into this. All of us have been, as Sarah said, rubbing ourselves up against these proverbial rocks all year, getting our skin to shed off. What have all of us been doing to help with this process? One of the things that started this for me was that I started experiencing frozen shoulder last year. And the first thing I do anytime I have a physical ailment, I was out to coffee with a girlfriend yesterday and she's like, yeah, I just got diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. And I'm like, let's see what Louise Hay has to say about this, because there's always an energetic reason for a physical ailment. So I look up left shoulder injury, Louise Hay, and it says you're carrying the weight of the world without joy. And that hit, I was like, never have I felt so seen and also called out by a dead woman. Thank you so much, Louise Hay. My process this year has been a combination of not only physical healing, but emotional healing. And where am I carrying the weight of things that aren't mine to carry? Or how am I carrying the entire weight of a nonprofit when instead I could build a board and get a bunch of people to help me? And where am I not having joy? The beginning of this year, I did the artist's way to start tapping back into my creative process. I know I recommended it to Denise too. And so I've really been doing a lot of things emotionally, spiritually, physically. I've traveled more this year than probably in the last 5 years combined. I've been putting myself into unknown circumstances and situations. So it forces my brain to think differently and to approach situations differently. I've been confronting my fears. I've babysat for 16 chickens. I am fucking terrified of birds. I've just been honestly throwing spaghetti at the wall this year, being like, all right, I will do whatever it takes to shed this skin because I know that whatever's coming after this is going to be shinier, brighter, bigger, funner. I know that's not a word than where I've been at before. And I'm just so committed to that level of living and experiencing life that I have done everything this year to shed. So share with me all of your shedding tips and secrets.
I have a very bad habit of carrying what people think, not just about me, but about people who are close to me. And I have finally, I think, come to a point of not giving a fuck anymore. You can say what you want about me. It's getting a lot easier to not carry it anymore. And I think it has to do with the fact that, like you said, for the first time, I've started investing in myself again. I joined a Pilates studio in April, and my daughter and I have been going 3 times a week when we can. Someone said to me, but that's not enough to really lose weight or get toned. And I'm like, I'm doing it for the joy of movement, but thanks for your input. But it's also, I'm able to bond with my daughter in a more intentional way, which is something that I don't get to do because I'm working all the time and she's at school. I've picked up a ton of coloring books. I used to paint all the time. I decided that that was not accessible in a moment's notice. So like, I have coloring books and I just color. I got myself some alcohol markers and I love it. I've also, thank you, Instagram, been buying sticker things where you like create little scenes out of stickers. I have probably invested a metric ton of money into these things, but I'm like in love because they shut everything down and all you're doing is focusing on this moment. And I realized that that was what I needed more of, was just moments with myself to do something that was utterly pointless, had no monetization, had no external value, was not something that I had to sell or justify. I did it. It's stupid. I do the stickers. They go in the garbage. Nobody gives a shit. But it has been so fucking liberating.
One of the things you said that I really want to pause on is this idea of doing something without a goal. When's the last time, as highly, highly, highly ambitious women, we've let ourselves do something for the sake of doing something without it meaning something more?
Yeah, you're so right. For me too, it's like tapping back into your inner child, which I think both Annie and Sarah have touched on as well. I started doing all the things I used to love doing as a kid. I sewed, I bought a piano so I could play the piano again. I started writing lessons again, and that has brought me so much joy outside of having to work on something or like monetize something. That's been really just such a nice feeling to be able to nurture my inner child and tap back into what I used to love to do. The other thing that I've done is I started a secret TikTok account that is my practice for being myself and just like showing up as who I want to be without mirroring everybody in my life, seeing that. And that's been an amazing experience for me.
I totally follow that account. And I also want to say, I've actually had the privilege of witnessing all three of you doing this year as well. I stayed with Annie in Chicago. She was like traipsing through the house in her point shoes, getting ready for her role. Like, I got to see Denise re-wallpaper her living room and put up new light switches and all these things. And I've been seeing Sarah's art on Instagram as well. And it's been really inspiring as someone who's going through this process to be witnessing other women in the midst of their shedding process. Miss Annie, what you got for us?
Well, I'm in another musical. No point shoes this time, but they asked me if I can do a toe touch, like cheerleader style. And my answer was yes in 2002. So now that gives me something else to focus on. I'm making a lot of gifts again. Bri and I are addicted to this really weird red book. And one of the things that it says is that if you want to manifest, just get yourself into creation mode. There's the book.
For anyone who's listening to this and not watching, it's called The 15 Success Principles for Self-Realization. And I literally had it sitting next to me when Annie said it. So I just pulled it up.
But it says like that creation, like Sarah was talking about, like just creation for creation's sake, right? And so for me, I tend to self-prioritize last. So one of the ways it's been really lovely for me to be creating again is to be making gifts for people. So right now I'm making an eczema salve for my best friend. I'm making a baby blanket for my other best friend who just had a baby. I'm decorating everybody's scripts in the musical. You know what I mean? Like I'm baking and making weird jellies and jams and all these other things so that I give them to people. But what I'm giving myself is that space. And what I've noticed is that when I'm creating, I'm not talking. And so what I'm also giving myself is the gift of silence. Sometimes actual silence, like I'm not listening to anything, no stimulation whatsoever, just the cicadas and me. Other times, at least, I'm just not on. I'm not talking. No one needs anything from me. I'm not checking my email. I don't have my phone. People are starting to send me messages being like, girl, are you alive? And I'm like, yes, I'm being a hedge witch. I'm going cottagecore. I'll get back to you after this salve settles. You know what I mean? And that's an adjustment for me.
Yeah, I think that as ambitious women, so much of our value and our identity has been tied so closely to our output, to our productivity, to, how many emails we can write in a day, how many this we can do, how many that we can do. And personally, I've said this to people, I feel like I'm learning how to walk this year again. Like, I am learning how to move through the world with a different cadence where, in the past, like Annie said, I am getting ready to redo my website right now. But in the past, I would have been like, had the thought of, I need to redo my website, and then been like, okay, let me write all the copy, and then I'm going to get into WordPress and I'll have it all done and like ready to go and like up and live and everything in 24 hours. And I just have no interest. I had the thought about redoing my website like 2 weeks ago. And this morning, for the first time, I pulled up in ChatGPT and was like, hey, if I were to put like a new header on the homepage of my website, given this, and this, like what could it look like? And it's moving at a different cadence without scarcity, without expectation, and just kind of like I said to my clients this morning, letting the inspiration move me rather than me being the one to like push
Yeah. And I
the
think that's
inspiration out.
that's the feminine energy too, right? It's like we're also in the masculine, and I don't think we're so used to letting that feminine energy come through where you're receiving, you're letting something flow through you. And I think that's definitely something I'm trying to work on is like tapping into my feminine energy, which has been lost for a very long time. And I think we can all agree on that. Like, and finding that again, I think that's a key to probably unlocking like what's next and what is right for me moving forward.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. So we've talked about kind of like our shedding, what we've been doing when we're in the phase of being ready to then, I don't know if it's getting clarity or taking first steps or whatever. What have been y'all's processes, or kind of do you have any tools or things that you've been doing to help move that energy again? Because I know for me, I feel like someone asked me yesterday about flow, and I was like, dude, I have not been in flow. Like nothing has been flowing for like 9 or 10 months. So how, like when we step back into the river, like what are you guys doing to either know what's next or start moving towards what's next or being moved by what's next? Like how is that process looking? And this can be very messy. You may not know this. You might be in the middle of it right now.
For me, I always go like, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. And I think that sacral intuition for me is so important. And so I think that's kind of just like something that I'm using as a filter for whatever opportunities might come or ideas come up in my head. You know, if it's not a hell yes, then it's a no. And I put it aside, at least for now.
Yeah, I'm also one of those people that when I get an idea, it gets actioned on right away. Like to the point where I've had employers before or even clients tell me, oh, you've already finished that? I'm like, yep, you told me to do it. I got it done. Like it's done. So for me, it's been fighting that eternal nature that I have always lived in. When I get excited about an idea now, I walk away from it. It is the hardest thing that I've ever had to do in my life, but I leave it. I'm like, I want the excitement to die, and then I can evaluate it. And that has actually helped me more with the flow and to like find my spaces than quick action ever has. Because I know in the industry, quick action, quick wins. But there is something to be said for just letting it.
I love that. And then kind of like seeing if that same int is there without the like almost kind of like emotional highs. I mean, come on, how many entrepreneurs are just run on dopamine all the time?
Oh, dopamine hits on a daily basis. No.
Constantly. I mean, come on, that's why I love TikTok, right? Every 15 seconds, something new. Annie, dear, what do you do to help or be in the flow of this process of creation?
I think it's so funny that you asked me that because, like, for me, the way out of bed is if my people are doing something cool and my people need me. So, like, I'm getting out of bed because I'm on your board, Bri. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not heads down on my own website today because I'm doing this podcast with y'all right now. And it's deprioritizing and continuing to prioritize the handful of people that make my business what I want it to be now and in the future, but also beyond my business. Screw that. Just I spend my days investing in the people that invest in me and that I want to continue to invest in. And that gets me out of being a very Annie-centric existence. I don't have kids. I have like a gajillion pets. Like I have a great husband who takes care of our house and all the things. Like if I wanted to go on to Planet Annie and just live there by myself, I could. I'm an only child. I could be silent for a week. However, my loved ones are still doing really cool shit. And for that, I got to keep moving. I can't just stall.
It is true that, one of the best ways, especially when I was single and when I was living alone and all that stuff, for me to like get out of bed every day was because my cat needed me, right? And there is something about whether it's volunteering with an organization or, being committed to being a buddy with someone or, having people that you want to show up for. Sometimes that external motivation is what we need to get out of bed every day. And it was my baby Peaches that kept me alive for many years because I knew that she was like, this little 5-pound angel that was depending on me to get up every day and show up for her. And so sometimes it, you know, it has been a little hard showing up for myself this year just because there's a lot of stuff that I don't want to face, starting from scratch again. And it's a lot having the resiliency, facing all the bullshit that's happening in the world. It's a lot. And so, yeah, having that kind of external motivator to pull us can be really helpful. Again, so this question you may not have an answer to, and that's completely fine. But in our last few minutes, I would love to hear what's next. So either, what are you committed to moving forward? How is this manifesting into a new pathway for you? Who do you get to be moving forward? Like, take it in any direction you want. But now that you've kind of decomposed some things, found your way back to yourself more and more, like, where do we go from here?
I'll go. I think for me, it has been finding or remembering who I am outside of my brand. And every time I get a hit of clarity, it's like, oh yeah, that's who she is. And I think whatever I build next, like just before we had this call, I was on a consult with a podcast strategist because, like I said, my podcast is going to get sunset at the end of the year. And I wanted to build something. I love talking, speaking. So like, what am I going to do with it? And like the idea of whatever comes next is going to be really because I enjoy it and having the faith in myself and the universe and whatever else you want to attribute it to, that if it is meant to bring me whatever goal, then that's great. That'd be a wonderful byproduct of it. But it can no longer be the focus of what I create. Whatever I create has to be something I create because I genuinely want to, not because it's what I should be doing. And so I don't have an answer because those answers are still unfolding and making themselves known.
Yeah, I think for me, I want to step more into the energy of like wonder and, like wonder and just looking at the world, I think, in a different light, something that's not as jaded and, harsh, I think, as what we've come from. And I think letting that energy kind of bring in the opportunities. And I'm not in a place where I'm like, okay, this is the path I want to go down yet. Or even like, these are the two paths I'm deciding between. I think I'm just trying to be very open to anything that comes in and then using that like hell yes or no filter to kind of like start guiding me down a new path.
Yeah. I need to spend a lot of time in my own head because I'm noticing more and more the thoughts that I have held so tight that don't even feel like mindset issues. They just feel factual. And like Bri said, like Gen Z does not obey rules. They're like, why are these rules there? Why have I convinced myself that there's no monetization in content creation? Why have I convinced myself that I need to work 80 hours a week to be successful? Why have I convinced myself for so long that I don't have dreams of my own? Why have I convinced myself of these things? And because at the end of the day, I got to be accountable to me. Right. And I don't think I've been listening to myself as well as I could. And I don't think I've prioritized myself as well as I could. And I'm now seeing that so many of the barriers, not all, but so many of the barriers that I've kind of picked up and moved from rebrand to rebrand to rebrand that don't go away. They just move. Like my husband's therapist calls them doom piles, didn't organize, only moved, right? Like these bad habits that I've kind of kept with me, they're bad habits because they're of me. And so I either need to metabolize them and love them and trust them and just roll with it, or now in this quiet contemplative season, I have to make a real decision that I'm going to detach from those pieces of my identity that were, I'm sure, self-protective at some point, but now just feel like a whole bunch of BS.
Yeah. Man, you got me with the doom piles. I have no idea what those may look like or be physically or energetically. I have no idea. To the point of the last point that you made, Annie, I think for me, what's really truly been the process this year and will continue to be the process is so much of the identity work of like, why have I convinced myself that again, coaching call yesterday, and the guy was like, we've been working together for a few months, and he was like, whoa, wait. You've been an entrepreneur for 18 years and you've convinced yourself that you don't have value, or like you're literally like 0.00000. He's like, do you know how many people make it to 5 years and how many people make it to 10, and you made it to 18, and yet you've convinced yourself that you're small potatoes and you're lumping yourself in the bucket with all these other like brand new quote unquote business coaches, and like what are you doing? And so a lot of my work has been around identity. And then also, again, like letting my vision move me, and then collecting data, just like you would with a scientific experiment, and say what works, what doesn't work, and moving with that. I put up a request for board members on LinkedIn a few weeks ago, and it was just a passing thought. And I swear to God, I blacked out when I actually did the thing. But I got 30 applications, y'all. We went from being a board of 4 to being a board of 16 literally overnight. And I'm like, oh, growing a nonprofit was not on my bingo card this year, but like, holy shit. And one of them, I just have to say this because I'm so proud of it. One of them is the one that built the Dollywood Foundation. So I'm like, oh shit, your last boss was Dolly Parton, and now, oh, okay, cool. If that's not a fucking slap in the face and wake up call to like, girl, get on your identity shit. So all right, we are at time. I just wanted to thank each and every one of you so much. I knew this was going to be good because I know all of you, and it just was so lovely. So any last quick little like one-liner thoughts, things for anyone listening?
I mean, if you're listening to this and you know Bri, you are now 4 degrees away from Dolly herself. Only 4 degrees away from Dolly herself. What can't you do? You are unlimited. You are quasar. What can't you do? You are only 4 degrees away from Dolly Parton herself.
Mic drop.
Yay.
Anything else to add? Are we good?
I just want to say, if you want to do it, just fucking do it.
Claps for that.
Agreed.
Brilliant. Well, thank you all so much. Everyone make sure to go check the show notes for info on Sarah Kahn, Denise Lee, and Annie P. Ruggles. Thank you, ladies, so much for joining me. If y'all aren't subscribed yet to Big Goal Energy, please do subscribe. We have some great episodes coming up. I appreciate all of you for being here, and make it an amazing day. Go do something today. Challenge. Go do something today that doesn't have a goal attached to it.
If this episode lit something up in you, share it. Text it to a friend, post it to your stories, or leave a review, because Big Goal Energy is meant to be felt far and wide. And if you're ready to go deeper, explore the tools, hypnosis sessions, and support because your vision deserves more than hustle, join us on the Big Goal Energy app by visiting your app store and typing in Big Goal Energy. Your vision, your goals deserve alignment, ease, and your fullest self behind them. Until next time, trust yourself, dream bigger, and never forget, you are here for greatness.